Okay, you ready?
Ready, Freddie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Who can believe it is Monday, March 12th? 10th. Oh, not 12th.
10th.
Oh my God. It is Monday, March 10th, 2025. I have returned from the great experience that was Trinidad Carnival and all the bacchanal that came with it. I'm unfortunately back in the United States and back to reality.
I'm sad that you're back, but happy that you're back.
Yeah, Carnival was so good. I'm like, oh, I want to do Cropover. I want to do St. Lucia. I want to do Spice Moss. I want to do Carnival again. But that certificationing is such a huge investment. You really do have to space it out.
I haven't gone yet. I do want to go. My cousins go every year, but one of them live there to Trinity Carnival.
I understand doing it every year. Like I high key think I shouldn't do it next year, but I might do it next year.
When would we have to pay for next year?
By September.
Oh, okay. Maybe. I'll let you know in June if the money stops looking funny.
Same. Like somehow I can get it together and like make this money that my financial advisor says I need to make.
I need to make this money to pay off these student loans so I can be done with
Fuck
them.
them student loans. First of all,
I will not be getting any of my wages garnished. The amount of just volatile policy making around student loans and education in general that's currently going on frightens me too much. It's raising my blood pressure. So I'm like, okay, let me finish. Let me be done. Let me be done.
But they got rid of like the IDR, and like, I'm in school, so like for me, it really is F them loans. As a matter of fact, somebody's been taking money out of my account. And I need to go back and tell them I'm in school full time. Ho, pump your brakes, biatch. But I just feel like why pay student loans? Why pay taxes? Like if they're gonna destruct everything, why should I?
Because I don't want to be in the debtor's prison.
Well,
I don't want to be there. I want to be on my nice green suede couch.
Okay, your millennial green couch. Yeah.
But, we'll pretend it's a couch right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I do have a green chair. That's funny. Can you see it? It's green.
I have a green rolly chair too. Very Black woman.
I'm just like, oh, why do I have to adult? I don't want to adult. I want to party on the road. I want to play mass. I don't want to adult. They could keep it's too much alcohol. They keep the alcohol. They keep the alcohol, the mosquitoes, and that one soca song I never want to hear again. Never want to hear a party again. But everything else was good. The people are so nice.
You look so good.
There was no European. There's like very few European people on the island. I feel like that's why Trinity people, Jamaican people can be a little mean. People from Martinique are definitely mean. It's the Europeans.
Well, it depends where in Jamaica you go. So like certain parts of Jamaica, you don't see any white people. Like when I go home, I'm like, there's none. I've never seen a white person in St. Thomas Parish my whole life.
Yeah.
It was the first time when I went to North Coast, which is like the tourist part for my cousin's wedding a few years ago. I was like, oh.
Yeah, they be there. Yeah. Trinidad, I was in Port of Spain, and they stand out. Like the white people, they're clearly tourists. This is not catering to them and their comforts at all. And so I really enjoyed that. And I hope if you're following me on Instagram, you got to preview it on my Instagram stories. I did vlog a little bit. Maybe at some point I'll edit a vlog. I don't know. I'll definitely post about it on my Patreon. I had a great time. Look, I got my nails done there. Can you see?
Cute. Oh, I like the yellow.
It's like this one has a flower. My middle finger has a flower on it. Great time. I'm just like, I want to do it again. I ate so much doubles Pilori, and I thought of you every time I saw somebody with a woteless shirt on. What does woteless mean?
Wokeless means no behavior.
WOTLES?
Wokeless.
Wokeless?
Yeah. So like I think the Trinis spell it WO and then the Jamaicans spell it WK. WUK, sorry. But it's the same thing. It's wokeless.
I saw a shirt that said WOTLES.
But I think their accent they say wokeless and we say wokeless. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thing. There was actually all the feds had jerk chicken. So there was I didn't really.
Whatever.
I was like, I wanted stew chicken. I wanted brown stew chicken. Give me Naparima cookbook Trini food. That's what I wanted. I had a lot of doubles, a lot of palori, a lot of aloo pie,
Did
a
you
lot
have
of food.
bacon shark?
So much of it.
I love that
Every
for you.
party, and I didn't know you put ketchup, pineapple,
Mm,
onions, lettuce. It's like a whole dress
I
that
didn't know that.
like it's a whole dressing, and I had it like almost every day. Like leading up to Carnival, I had it almost every day. It's really
Nice.
good. I was a little bacon sharked out at one point.
Good.
But
I've
the
had it like
food was
twice.
so good. I had a little bit of everything. I had the Creole food, I had the Indian food, I had the Chinese food. When you went to the fetes, the parties, which makes sense because these parties were like $150, $200. Like the
Mm.
one party, it's spelled Phuket, Phuket, like the Thailand city, but they say fuck it.
Mhm.
It was so much food. They had two different types of Chinese. They had a Hong Kong station and then another type of Chinese station. They had a barbecue ribs, hamburgers, hot dogs, and
Oh,
corn
yeah.
dogs. Bacon shark.
That came included with your ticket?
Yeah, it was just
Oh, I
it
love
was like
that.
the first plate of food I had was like steak, mashed potatoes, chicken tenders, and coleslaw. In one
Hmm.
little thing, the chicken station had way too long of a line. I wasn't standing in line for that. Chicken wings. It was like every kind of food imaginable. And the only food I didn't like was the traditional Trini food. The chicken was dry. I was a little disappointed. I mean, the bacon shark was delicious, but they had one station that was like
Mm.
rice and pea. No, it was rice and then the lentil peas. So like
Oh,
a
like
pea in a thick gravy,
mhm. I
and
forget what you call
then
like dal? Is it called dal?
it wasn't dal though, because dal
No?
is light and yellow. It was like it was lentils. And
Mm.
then I don't know what type of chicken it was, but the chicken was dry. And the whole
Oh.
like lentils are kind of dry themselves, so you kind of need the gravy
Mhm.
from the chicken to like carry that through. And I was like, this is disappointing because like this is the most traditional station they have
Yeah.
here.
It
Um
probably was that one vendor.
and I did not eat it. I had to throw it away.
Oh, no.
But it was so much food. By that point, I was full anyway, so I was like, whatever. And lots of snow cones with alcohol. So, oh my gosh, I definitely ate. I did have dal on my last day with some curry chicken.
Nice.
Well, my last day because I got stuck in Trinidad. Thank you, American Airlines. Thank you, American Airlines. I spent an extra day in Trinidad.
Did they cover it at least?
No, they gave us a voucher for a hotel. I was not the airport is kind of far from the main city, and our
Mhm.
flight kept getting pushed back. So I was just like, I'm not spending a full day by the airport.
Yeah.
So I went back to Port of Spain and got my own hotel. But I also booked this flight on I booked this trip on Amex. So I will be filing an insurance claim and I will be getting reimbursed for that hotel.
Yeah.
Um so yeah,
Good.
I
And that's
stayed back.
because Elon Musk decided to mislaunch his rocket
Yes.
ship
So my flight
and
got
mess up the
canceled in
Caribbean Sea.
Trinidad because Elon Musk, Star, whatever,
Starlink.
SpaceX, yeah.
Space Oh, yeah, Starlink is the internet, and then SpaceX is his
Yes, his
private
SpaceX launched a shuttle out of Texas. It crashed and
Mhm.
burned immediately, and it crashed into the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of
Mhm.
Florida. Yeah. And so all South Florida airports flights were grounded, and then the airspace between the Bahamas and Aruba was shut off. And so our flight had already been delayed. It was just a mess. It was just like the flight was already delayed prior to the Elon thing. And then they were like, the captain was like, we're
Mhm.
going to take a longer route around, but we need more fuel. And then we had to get off the plane for the second time. And at that point, I was like, y'all about to time out. Are you not? Y'all can't take this flight. And so, yeah, they timed out. So our 4:30 p.m. flight was canceled at midnight. And
Yeah.
because it's American Airlines and they do not have any staff at the Trinity Airport, they use a contractor to
Mhm.
they have a contract with the agency that staffs the airport. They cannot rebook you. They have to call they have to get American Airlines on the phone for each person to authorize rebooking them on a different flight.
That's
So
very
they asked for
inefficient.
volunteers at the beginning of our flight and it took them an
Mhm.
hour to process 3 people. and the people
American
didn't even
Airlines
get
has
told
gone downhill.
how much of a credit they would get for volunteering to rebook themselves. So all that to say, I absolutely want to go back, not only to Trinidad, but to other Caribbean islands that have like a carnival celebration, whether it's carnival, Job, Spice Mass, whatever. But I will not be flying American Airlines, which unfortunately has a monopoly on the Caribbean.
From
And it
Charlotte.
no, they have a monopoly as a whole. They
I think
offer
Delta flies to the
to the
Caribbean from New
French
York.
to the French Caribbean. You get a
I
Delta
think
flight maybe straight to Jamaica. There was no Delta flight options to Trinidad.
there's no Air Jamaica anymore.
It was
RIP.
Caribbean
Caribbean Airways will
Airlines.
fly. Yeah, Caribbean. Or you know who's a good airline that I've flown to the Caribbean? BWI flies, British West Indies
Yeah,
flies from New
I
York,
will
and
just
that's
go
a
to
good airline, and they feed
some.
you.
So many people in my. That's what my friend was saying. So many people in my
Hmm.
travel group, wherever they were in America, flew to New York
Yeah.
and then took Caribbean Airlines. And my homegirl was saying, even in economy, they give you a meal. I was in first class. This is my
Hmm.
40th birthday trip. I paid for a first class ticket. I got served a cold cheese sandwich. That's the only meal I got in first class.
The U.S. based airlines, in my opinion, are the most raggedy airlines.
And so I will be sending in several emails um to American Airlines.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm so
Yeah.
they didn't give you hot food.
On the way coming, they ran out. And then on the way going, because we were in the same plane for the day before, they had no catering. So they had gone and got sandwiches from the local coffee shop, but I was in the fourth row. By the time they got to me, she's like, "Do you want a ham croissant or a cheese panini?" I said, "I'll take the ham croissant, but do you have any chips?" She said, "No." And then she went to go get the sandwich. She came back, "You know what? I'm gonna get you some Doritos." And then came back with a cheese panini. The Doritos were supposed to be like my compensation for the fact that I got served a cold cheese press sandwich because they didn't have any other options for me in the fourth row of first class.
American Airlines doesn't have any
I'm,
brought up C. That's the
I'm not gonna
problem.
hold you. By that point, I definitely let some tears. I was so frustrated. It was like 30 hours
Especially because the
after my
ticket was expensive.
absolute ticket was expensive. It was 30 hours after I was supposed to leave. I knew I was
Yeah.
headed to. It was like 6 p.m. I'm headed to Miami. I know I'm gonna have to spend the night in Miami. Like I knew I wasn't getting home that day.
Yeah.
And then like I'm getting a cheese sandwich, and I'm gonna get to Miami. The Miami airport's gonna be closed. Like
Oh.
it was just like the fuck is this?
Mm.
Count your days, American Airlines. Count your
Yeah,
days.
get your money back. Get your money back.
I'm gonna
I'm
try.
glad
Okay,
everything
okay.
else
Enough
was
about
good.
me. We gotta talk about this on Patreon. I'm sorry. Like I could go on
You
and
you were
on
the
and
levity
on.
for the morning.
On and on and on. But I had a great time. I worked out. I had, Stephanie's on my Finsta. So she saw I was going to the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning. She was helping me with my weight
Gotcha.
training. I did lose 15 pounds prior to going on this trip.
Yes, he did. Listen,
So,
heart
it,
health
it,
is important.
it was a very freeing experience because everybody in all body types is butt naked on the road.
And that's what I was trying to tell you because you were nervous. And I was like, listen, I seen the picture of all of my cousins, all shapes, all complexions, and don't nobody care. Everybody is celebrating all different types of shapes.
I'm happy
Little
I worked
behinds,
out.
big behinds, belly, no belly, thigh, no thigh. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you got lots of compliments. You looked great in your costume.
Well, I wasn't on the road long enough. You mean the costume? It was like I was on the road. They played party and carry it 15 million times. And I went to the lunch camp and ate and said, "There's no AC in this bitch. I'm going back to the hotel where I can use a proper toilet and relax in the air conditioning." And then I
Don't
fell
put
asleep
us in
and
AC.
forgot to go back on the road.
You looked good though.
I spent
For
all
the
that
road
money
trip.
to send the Marriott bricks. And I loved it.
Listen, it's your vacation. You can make what you want of your vacation.
Okay. So let's get into the news. We're avoiding talking about what's happening in America, You
Because this
leave
place is
America,
raggedy.
you get
Definition
outside of
of
the news
wokeness is actually
cycle,
America.
you don't want to come back to it. It's like, oh,
No.
do I
And it's
have to?
stressful. Stress is also the cause of health issues. While you were gone, I did Thursday news by myself, and then come Monday, I was like, oh, I just I'll
It's
wait
a
till she
lot.
comes.
It's so heavy, is it not?
It's a lot to like ingest and also to parse through, but also I think the name of the game last week was to raise people's blood pressure and just have constant commotion. So for example, tariffs, no tariffs, tariffs, no tariffs. We're canceling the Department of Education. We're dismantling. Okay, just kidding, we're not. I was like, what
It's a
is this?
lot of political theater because at the
It's a
end of the
lot.
day, like, well, this is the thing. I've been really trying to think through what would it take for people that are fans of Trump to no longer like Trump. And I don't think there's anything he could do, no matter how much harm it caused them, where they would turn away from him.
I think if they, so for example, they are unfortunately, it's going to be hundreds of thousands of federal workers are losing their jobs. They're doing like rolling. They started with the probationary workers, which just means you got recently hired. And so now they're going to go with the tenured workers. They interviewed this young white woman who I forget which department she worked for, but she got fired and got illegally let go because they are getting illegally let go. And they interviewed her because specifically she voted for Trump, and she voted for Trump. Her words were she voted for Trump because she was 24 years old, and her husband really wanted to have a child, and they needed to do IVF, and Trump. According to her, which I was like, girl, I don't even think he said this to you. But according to her, Trump campaigned on making IVF free for everyone. That man never campaigned on any type of universal health care. So I don't know where she heard that in
Yeah.
her clearly not the brightest bulb. So she now was being interviewed as like, how do you feel now that you've lost your job? And she literally said like, I should have felt bad when I knew he was attacking things other people needed and wanted, but I really wanted this thing, so that's why I voted for him. That was her excuse. I don't know, like she didn't seem so like I hate this man now. It
No.
seemed more like, oh, my good friend let me down, but they're still my good friend,
I
which
think
was
I
surprising.
think we are so socialized to not expect anything from our government that he could take everything away. I'm gonna make a real outlandish statement. I think the Holocaust could happen again, and they would not give a fuck.
Oh gosh. I mean, they are literally watching a genocide being live streamed and they don't care.
I
So,
mean, it's not
yes.
happening here, but I think something could happen on soil here. We could get internment camps. We could get some of the most egregious aspects of American history can return, and I do not think they would care. I think they would still be like, well, Trump. It's like cult of personality. I think
Yeah.
their lives could radically change for the worse. I mean, look how West Virginia's been voting for how long?
Interestingly, they also interviewed this other older white man in his 70s, and he his statement was, and quote, I voted for that black boy twice and I didn't get anything. I was like, now you call it. I was like, sir, please. Black boy is wild. I was like,
Oh,
oh
and
no.
part of the problem is, what are the Democrats offering you?
What are they offering? So now he has swung towards
You,
voting for Trump. But I'm like, the West Virginians are a fascinating
I
bunch.
think most of the American
Fascinating.
electorate wants to be talked to regardless of what they're given. Because
Yeah.
it would literally, and honestly, the Democrats are not saying we're going to give you the New Deal Part 2. We're not going to, like, it. I think what it would literally take, and look at history, right?
Mm,
FDR gives you this big social policy that literally creates the white middle class.
with the New Deal, yes.
Yes,
And
and
failed promises to Black Americans.
right, and because he lets Southern Democrats and Republicans to immediately stymie the progression of the New Deal. So a lot of agencies were created and immediately halted because of the way Congress worked after the New Deal was passed. But still, the programs that were allowed through the Tennessee Valley Administration, pensions, unemployment, public housing, white people, aid for dependent children, white people were the biggest benefactors of those programs. Until Bill Clinton came along and successfully dismantled all of them, except for
Mhm.
welfare tier 1. So he didn't dismantle pensions and unemployment. But you look at the way that voting goes and you get a Nixon. We have a high period of like back to back to back Republican presidents
Mhm.
after even okay, we go FDR. Let me kind of get this right. Is it FDR, then
Look it
Truman?
up.
When was
Mhm.
Eisenhower?
He's Vietnam War, right? I think.
Can
Let me
I
see.
do this right? I know Truman was after
Girl, listen.
FDR. Am I lying? Okay, yeah, okay. It was Truman, Eisenhower. Are those not
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Keep going. Then you have JFK.
okay? And then we
Do you
get
want me to say
Lyndon B.
them?
Johnson. Those are the two
Mm-hmm.
Democrats. All right,
Yep.
and then Nixon, Ford, one term for Carter, and then Reagan,
Mm-hmm.
Bush. Like
Yep.
the Republicans are not getting taken out for dismantling social services that allow white people to economically achieve. The
No.
idea that someone can get more than them or that someone can get something from what they make is it's incessant to them, and they
Mm-hmm.
will continually, even if one particular party is saying we're trying to ensure this, we're trying to ensure equal rights. And at this time there was a better alignment, better, even though black people was losing, but for the white people the Democrats did have a better messaging, and they were still like, you know ah how dare you have that one white man you let out of prison who continued to murder? Like
Mm-hmm.
people were getting taken down for the silliest shit as Democrats. And I think we could get back to some very horrendous times, and these people would still, the idea I mm, that I am contributing to another person's well being, and that other person being someone who does not look like or live like me or believe like me is a huge turnoff, even if it means better quality of life for them.
I agree. Because at first, I really thought, you know what, maybe the majority in this country is white people. Maybe enough white people will rise up if I saw someone call Elon Musk the apartheid Nick Cannon. So I will just be using that because it's hilarious. If apartheid Nick Cannon actually messes with people's refund checks, maybe you'll see collectness whiteness be like, what the hell? Like, where's my money? But now I realize, to your point, that they don't care. And I think it's actually a good
They'll just be
segue.
told that, oh, you have a bigger pot of money coming in a year, just wait.
And they will believe it, which is objectively wild. And I think, to your point of realizing that as long as everyone else is suffering, they don't care if they suffer. So one of the articles I had pulled for today, we'll just skip around, it's from the Atlantic. It's called The Great Resegregation, which I thought was very apt. And then basically in that article, the person who is running, I think it's the office, let me double check. Let's see, Office of Management and Budget. Yes. So his name is Russell Vought. He's running now Trump's Office of Management and Budget. He essentially went on the record and stated that his goal is to, and quote, get us off of multiculturalism in the United States. And so what they are essentially the tenets of what Trump policy and Elon Musk by proxy, what they're trying to do is essentially institute what are old caste system and racial and gendered structures in the United States.
I love a Adam Sewer article. He wrote the
Great
article
article.
for The Atlantic called "The Cruelty Is the Point," about the first Trump administration, about the point is cruelty. Like that is what Americans are being primed for. And so when we're aghast at like how could they do that, that's the point. They want to be mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just stuck with me for so long. He's such a great writer. I really
Great writer.
enjoy.
And it's very, I like that he writes things in such of a structured manner in terms of like, hey, this is their attack plan. These are the examples. Like, this is what they're doing. So like the overview essentially in here that he wrote, if you scroll down a little bit, I've the quote pulled out, so I'll just read the quote. If the great resegregation proves successful, it will restore an America past where racial and ethnic minorities were the occasional token presence in an otherwise white dominated landscape. It would repeal the gains of civil rights era in their entirety. What its advocates want is not a restoration of explicit Jim Crow segregation. That would shatter the illusion that their own achievements are based in a colorblind meritocracy. They want an arrangement that perpetuates racial inequality indefinitely while retaining some plausible deniability. A rigged system that maintains a mirage of equal opportunity while maintaining an unofficial racial hierarchy. Like elections in authoritarian countries where the autocrat is always reelected in a landslide, they want a system in which they never risk losing but can still pretend they won fairly.
And
And
it's
then
crazy because we
Mhm.
always have lived in a very white world. So this attack on DEI is wokeness, as you would say. Wokeness.
It's very luckless because they're acting as if all of a sudden every single president of Fortune 100 companies was all of a sudden a black woman. It never occurred. There was the idea that, like, wait a minute, I see these few Negroes and even fewer in corporate spaces. Latinos, I see them rising a little bit, and that really grinded their gears. I think a lot of this is a backlash to Black Lives Matter movement of 2020, where you saw like white guilt at the forefront. Like, did white liberals really care that 3 Black people were murdered so publicly? I don't think so. There was a pandemic, they wanted to go outside. Maybe they cared a little bit, but they didn't care enough to actually go and pick up the books that they were purchasing about
No,
white
they cared
racism.
because it was profitable.
Exactly.
You
It
know
was
how
a
quickly
giant
Black
marketing of
Lives
like,
Matter
"Hey."
was co-opted?
Mhm.
And it was
And it
just
was
like,
virtue signaling of being a good
yeah,
person.
we can pay this person 6 figures and then they can co-sign that our
Mhm.
corporation cares about black people, and then we can get more black people to come and shop at Target. That's exactly what the fuck
Mhm.
happened.
Exactly. And then their employees can also now feel better to say like, "Wait, I work for a company that cares about everyone else, and yes, maybe I
Even
cross the
as
street when I
leadership
see
is
a black
still all
person."
white.
Exactly. But at least I posted my black square. So it was a giant gaslighting of like, okay, we're going to pretend we are in post-racial America. Like that was a theme of Obama's election and re-election, of white people really wanting to Tracy McMillan Cottom's thick that chapter that we talked about. I think the chapter we talked about on Patreon called
Know
Know Your
your
White.
blacks. Yeah, know your whites. Yeah.
Yes, where essentially white people want to be seen as better than their actions have shown. And I'm talking about like collective whiteness and colonization, etc. And that's what we're seeing now. So the article does a really good job of showing like this is how they're doing it. So where are we here?
Where do you want to scroll to?
Oh, here we go. If you scroll to where it says the battles of the Great Resignation are now taking place.
Oh, girl, do I need to
Right
control?
there. I think that's there. Yeah. No, that's a demolition. Um, don't worry. I have it on my side. I'll
Here
just
we
read the
go.
second
Here we
one.
go. Control
Okay.
F always wins.
The battles of the Great Resignation are now, and then it should come up. Greece, the Great Resegregation. Sorry, Great Resignation was back when we all were like, yeah, this job is gonna last forever, and then quit our job. The battles of the Great Resegregation are now taking place in at least 3 overlapping arenas. The first is politics, where right-wing legal organizations have succeeded in rolling back many civil rights era voting protections. They want to now fully destroy the remaining shreds. The second is education and employment, particularly at elite institutions such as media and academia. Right-wing legal strategies have been similarly fruitful here in attacking diversity thanks to the conservative capture of the Supreme Court. So, for example, at NBC, you see Joy-Ann Reid being ousted from her show, as well as anybody who was not white being moved from their show. And then the third is popular culture, where conservatives have sought to leverage anger and nostalgia against movies, television, books, and other creative media brought to life by artists of color. And it's a very concerted effort. And I think seeing the concerted effort laid out in this way empowers the rest of us to say, like, okay, this is how you push back against it. Because if not, people will gaslight you as to what he's doing. They're like, no, that's not what he's doing. He's trying to bring back coal mining and all these jobs. No, he's not. He's not going to do any of that. They are, on one hand, trying to extract as much wealth from working class and middle class people as possible. And on the other hand, they do want to restructure who gets to be seen in the United States, who is viewed as the hero. There was, I think it was DeSantis, who's unfortunately still the governor of Florida, where he made a statement saying that when he was fighting with Disney, saying Disney is too woke, Disney is doing all these movies where there are non-white men leads. What happened to the white men? I'm like, well, white men was never saving anybody. So how this can't all be fantasy. And he was mad at Shang-Chi, which was Disney movie that casted an East Asian man as a lead. He was mad at all the other Disney movies. Black Panther is one of the highest grossing Marvel films. Disney owns Marvel. They've been mad at all these things. And it's really interesting to see the attack, particularly on federal workers, and how that plays into how they're attacking, like, oh, what is supposed to be a secure, prestigious job working for the federal government. There are large amounts of Black people that are being impacted by that. And so we're seeing those three prongs play out in everything.
And it's crazy because they pick the most minute thing and they create this entire movement around being upset at things that truly do not exist. And within the context in which they exist, like, you are already getting what you want.
You're already winning.
Disney is not a bastion of diversity. Like,
No.
and like, what world? And honestly, you've probably gotten more accommodations because of the little bit of diverse expansion this corporation has been made to do.
Exactly.
It's
They acted as if we finally got our Storm movie, which I've been wanting to see a Storm movie on the big screen since I was a little kid. Hopefully one day, maybe when we're old, we'll get it. But they acted as if every single movie was some Black superhero. I don't even know if Disney, what was the big movie? I'm remembering Don't Talk to Bruno. What's the name of that movie? The song
Coco.
is in my head. Coco, which
Yes.
I don't know if Coco was Disney or Pixar. Was
Same
one of those, but
difference.
they're citing like all these things as if there was no white representation, when the default, unfortunately, in this country has been white representation. It's fascinating to see. It's very fascinating to see.
I'm just so over it. And I what's the most frustrating part is, for most of us, we think that at some point there will be like a knock, 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 wake up. You live in a world that is appeasing you. And no, they will literally, because they've been so wrapped up in these little arguments that make no sense. Nothing ever has to make sense to them. There's no aha
No.
moment for them. There is just follow the leader.
Oh, Encanto was the movie.
Okay,
Thanks, Al.
Encanto. Okay, Bruno.
I
Encanto
was
was
like,
a
what
Disney
is it?
movie. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, that
I
me
was like,
being
I
a
know
little
the song. I
racist.
did.
Why did I say Coco? It's all Lin Manuel. Is it not? Was that
He's
John
getting it.
Legend? Oh, okay.
I don't know who's singing the song. I just know the song. My little niece likes the song. I haven't seen the movie.
You haven't.
It,
Encanto is actually really good, and it
oh,
has
is
a
it?
really
Okay,
good
I'll put it on
messaging.
my
I
list.
really like it, even though
I'll put it on my list. It's
um,
interesting to your point about like the representation, to take it so lowbrow to a place that you don't like to go. But for 2 seconds, Love Is Blind, which is one of the raggediest shows on the internet on Netflix.
boycott the dating shows. They are so abusive to Black women.
Don't worry, there is no Black woman harmed in this season. Well, I haven't. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get past episode 3. I started scrolling past. It is so boring. It is based in Minnesota, so for all fairness, Minnesota, of course, is very homogenous and very white. It is so dry. Personality cannot be found anywhere. It is so boring, and I would guess, and I guess the numbers, if Netflix wants to release the numbers, I would go out on a limb and state this is probably the lowest watched ever Love Is Blind, because it is so dry. Not even white people want to watch boringness and other white people being boring. Nobody wants to see it. It's not profitable. But sure. That's the first thing when I saw episode 1, I was like, oh, is this what lack of diversity on the screen is going to do? This is
The
so.
only dating
It
reality
took
show
5
I can
guys
get
to watch it.
behind is Love Island Season 6 USA with Cordell Serena.
I enjoyed that. That's the only, my sisters wrote me into watching that one.
That's the only time I've ever, and even that has its issues, right? But that is the only time I have ever, and I just don't, I think dating shows are built on it. That season is boring because it's very white and there are not enough Black people on it. And we
It's
continually,
so
our
bad.
trauma literally carries these shows through, and I just cannot participate.
Or our personality when they want to actually do it better. But yeah, it's very dry, and we're watching all of that go on. And I think in the education space, one of the things to tie in to the article, that they are attacking multiculturalism in education, unfortunately, because DEI has been used and abused as a term in so many different contexts, there it has really lost the plot, unfortunately, of like what it was for, like what it means. First and foremost, DEI is not civil rights. Civil rights is a completely separate thing. Won civil rights in 1964. DEI has been used by corporations for the past 20 years to say like, hey, we are trying to have diversity and have different representation in the workplace, or at the very least, you can have employee resource groups, which we will make the marginalized groups do the labor, but we'll give you a little money. DEI has also been used in the educational space in, I would say, like a much more impactful ways, and those really are vestiges of civil rights, but they've adopted DEI language, where you get the Black Student Union, you get the Latin American Student Association, you get different organizations for any type of marginalized community, LGBTQ plus, for women, all of these different things. There was a huge push in the 70s and the 80s to get more women of any background. White women usually are the largest beneficiaries of any of these things, to get them in STEM. So now you see schools such as Ohio State with federal funding, they are preemptively cutting all of these programs that service all of the women on campus, that service anybody who is not a white Protestant man. They're cutting programs that have existed for like 20, 25 years. And essentially that is also going along with, you're getting calls to dismantle the Department of Education, which will tank the ability to access student loans. Our student loan system is extremely predatory. However, without the ability to borrow something because we don't have affordable education, then most people won't be able to go to school. And that's kind of how they are rewriting that, because there has been a lower enrollment amount of young white men for like the past 5 years in secondary education for college. So they are essentially getting affirmative action for young white men. The less people apply, the more young white men will get admitted.
My thing is, you know, we all have education now, but we're saddled with debt. And what does the education mean in a job market where we can't get a job? So like, dismantle that
Because they
shit.
don't want any Black people.
It's okay. You can go to college at any point in time. You know what I mean? Maybe life does start a little bit later for a generation of people,
Mhm.
and it might be for the better. Go ahead, dismantle that shit.
It's crazy. It's wild because the rise of student loans coincides with them realizing the demographic that is striving to enhance life and at least get to like basic necessities that really should already be provided, but through education. That is when all of a sudden you see Joe Biden, even Kamala Harris's demographic in her age. She's like a cusp Gen X boomer. That age paid significantly less for college versus elder millennials of like the 2008 2009. That's when you see all of a sudden like, oh, all these Blacks want to go to school, cool, let's charge, what's my highest interest rate, 7.21% for a loan that compounds. If you have an unsubsidized loan, which all graduate school loans are unsubsidized, compounds daily. That's
Oh
daily
yeah, I
interest.
don't even look at the little 15K I took out. Like, oh no, that's the
Girl,
one
it's
I'm still
growing.
paying on. I might keep paying on it actually though,
You should
because of
pay on
that.
it, because it, yeah, that's how they get you. And so it's like, yeah, I have this education, I'm knowledgeable, I can do this job, but
Uh,
now we're having open discrimination. Who is going to hire me so I can pay this off?
uh,
And all this should just make you angry. And then anger, we can do something with anger, not to make people, sad and distraught. Being distraught doesn't particularly move me, but
uh,
angry does.
uh, okay.
Yeah. You're over here like, I'm going back to Trinidad and I'm
You're
not worried about
like, I'm just gonna leave.
I'm
Because
just
it's
going
like
to exit to some doubles.
when it can't be my anger can't be the facilitator is what I'm just like, I need them white people to get angry, and I just don't know what it will really take for them to be angry.
We
You know what
maybe
I
we
mean?
need to
I
start.
need
We need to
them
start a
to
segment.
carry this.
Ask some whites. How do you
I
get upset? How do we
need
make y'all upset?
them
I'm
to
gonna ask
carry.
some of the gentrifiers in my building and be like, what would it take to raise up your blood pressure?
Okay, let's move on to Luigi Mangione, who we have not seen in the news in a very long time.
We haven't. So Luigi was originally going to be our levity, and I was like, well, actually, Trinidad should be our levity.
Yeah.
Which Luigi still, based on what I checked earlier, he does not have an exact court date set yet. He is being held here in Brooklyn on bail,
Yeah.
and he has a very robust legal defense fund. It is at nearly
You
$700,000
said he's
now,
being
I
held on
believe.
bail? No, he's still in prison.
Oh, sorry, you're correct. Held in prison without bail. That's what I meant to say. Thank you for correcting me. My brain said that and then my mouth did not. My mouth was like,
That
"No,
man
we're
is
just
fine though. You know what I mean? I need more people like this to be the ones rising up. Like y'all can take this, not me. I need you. This is the Joe Rogan bro. The I might have some liberal ideals, but like conservative makes me comfortable. I need exactly this to be the one rising up and taking up the case. You get angry
people are giving
first.
him money. Somebody gave him $30,000 last week.
And
And so I'm
imagine
like,
if this was a black person. They ain't getting no money. They be dead already.
nothing. Nothing. So I'm wondering, how do we rile up the Luigi supporters? Because if you're bold enough to give him some money and you have money to spend, you have time. And you have time to get riled up and to actually do something about the fascism that is here, about our apartheid Nick Cannon,
Yeah.
aka Elon Musk.
I mean, he carrying around that baby so he can't get pew down, but shit.
It's fascinating.
Mm.
But he is currently his team had to put out a press release last week to tell people, yes, he's allowed to receive digital pictures. However, please limit your picture sending to 5 at a time, and please be advised that yes, law enforcement does have to review all these pictures. So I think people were being lewd and sending him nudes, which again is fascinating. The spectacle of Luigi I find very interesting.
They could just hold him in jail for this long. His next federal court appearance is March 19th, while his next court date for a state is June 26th.
And he does not have a trial date yet set yet. And I think if we're going to use the spectacle of Luigi to actually talk about something serious, is that our bail system, in my opinion and in a lot of lawyers' opinions, is either borderline unconstitutional or is unconstitutional, because holding people essentially what could be seen as indefinitely, because if you don't have a trial date set, you are being held indefinitely. It is unconstitutional, sorry. Let me give you the exact amendment. I don't know it off the top of my head, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so it is the Eighth Amendment, prohibits excessive bail. It specifically says, let me read it to you verbatim, which he was denied bail, I believe. Excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel or unusual punishment inflicted. What's interesting is that he's being held while they are trying to figure out, set a court date, but also they're going to have a problem getting an impartial jury because a lot of people have been negatively impacted by our sham of a healthcare system.
Yeah.
And he's currently right now, he's writing letters to people who have been denied because of by health insurance providers, things like that. He's using his time to be a beacon of hope to people. Which, shout out to him. I need people to go from the funding to the front line of fighting the fascism.
Damn. Oh, people
But
are
people
saying
still caring about him does give me a little hope. I'm like, okay, so people can have longer attention spans,
they didn't take
which is
down
good.
his Twitter.
He had Twitter?
Yeah. They didn't take down
Oh,
his profile, and now it's verified with 524 followers. 1,000 followers.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Je ne sais. Je ne sais. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
So
We did the Atlantic article. We're going to talk about layoffs now.
let me go back because I took us out of order. My bad. Yes.
I'm
Well,
not
we
over
touched
it,
on it.
guys.
We don't necessarily have to talk about it.
I have I have really bad allergies, and so my homegirl had called me before I flew out to Trinidad. She was already on the island. Like, can you bring some Zyrtec? And so I brought Zyrtec, but like maybe I didn't take it the last day I was there. I came home with a sinus infection, and like the pollen here is out of control. I'm very
Mm.
stuffy. You can hear I'm like literally very congested,
Have you tried is
and
a
that
Netapod? Is that
I
the
need to.
thing?
I hate it. I fucking hate a neti pie, and I need to do
I've
it.
never tried it, but I hear good
I
things.
have to do them. I have a permanent post nasal drip. I'm like I the
Um,
doctor said I should be doing them twice a day, every day, and I never do it. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
ooh,
But it makes you drowsy. When you have congestion up here, it just makes you extraordinarily
yeah,
drowsy. So I am like I'm just like I'm trying to hold on. Like, can you hear it? Like, do I not sound
a little
congested?
bit. I thought it was just side effects of you being back in America. I'm not gonna
No,
lie.
no, no, no. I'm literally all blocked up. I'm trying not to sniffle, but like I sat up in the bed the other day and it just like all came out. I was like, oh, oh, this is Okay, we're talking about layoffs now.
We touched on it. We can skip that. It's depressing. What I only want to say one thing about layoffs. If you are a federal worker and you are quote unquote getting offered money that you're going to get paid later or you're getting laid off, etc., do know that your layoff by the illegal entity that is Doge is not legal. You do not
He's
have to
not even
comply with
taking
that.
ownership though. They have slashed 172,000 federal jobs, and this man is claiming that it is not because of him. More than
After
one
he's the one
third.
sending emails, he literally created an HR email
Okay,
and
so
sent the
where are
email.
2/3 of these cuts coming from? And I think maybe I wonder if we like peel back the hood, because the thing that's gotten me in this discourse about federal workers and like if they lay so many people off, there's going to be like a revolt. Well, a lot of, as we talked about earlier, a lot of federal workers are conservative. Him dismantling the FBI, Trump, the FBI, there was like so many reports that came out in 2016, or whatever Comey and he did that bullshit with Hillary Clinton,
Mm.
that like the FBI is full of MAGA conservatives
And Mormons.
and more like MAGA,
It's just
also
fascinating
MAGA
that there's such a
conservatives.
disproportionate amount of Mormons.
So like,
Um,
I'm wondering if they're saying technically 1/3 of the total comes from Elon Musk's efforts to reduce federal headcount. Are 2/3 also just coming from people that are in line, heads of departments that are in line with the MAGA policy?
my question with all of these federal worker layoffs, there has been rolling layoffs happening throughout the tech sector since last year. I would say like late 2023, to be honest, but definitely last year it ramped up. Where are all these people going to go? Like, how are people going to be able to pay their rent, pay their mortgage? The price of eggs. I was in grocery store yesterday. Eggs in Brooklyn at least $12.99.
I'll be getting my shit on Wig, baby. I'm about to go pick up some eggs today. Ugh. I
I
mean,
need that.
people are going to like, people are gonna put up with it. That's the unfortunate part. A lot of people are
I
gonna enter into gig economy.
I think that's what it is. I think people are going to enter the gig economy and they're creating precariousness, which is unpopular opinion. The rise of buy now, pay later also coincides. So Klarna is supposed to IPO, initial public offering, this year. So they'll get listed on whichever stock exchange they choose. They're slated to be the largest IPO this year. And I think we are seeing the like reintroduction to people of like what used to exist during segregation of like when you're buying things on credit, like when you're doing that happened to sharecroppers. I think they're just rolling that out to the masses now with Klarna. I don't know what all the names of the different things are, with those types of things, because now they have not awful terms. Some of them, like you don't pay interest for like the first 6 months. So people are like, okay, as long as I pay by month 5, it's not that bad. But that doesn't mean those are always going to be the terms. I think you're going to see soon that interest is going to come a lot quicker and it's going to roll into a problem.
And then with our groceries being expensive, even with all the shenanigans, they don't have to be this expensive. Companies are
No,
keeping
there's
their
no
profit
need.
margins. That's it. These profit margins that came about during COVID, during the 2020-2024 pandemic. These corporations want to keep their profit margins.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's why your milk is $4. Does your milk really need, if milk is produced in the United States? Like tariffs, yeah, the bird flu is impacting eggs, but quite
Mhm.
frankly, do our eggs need to be $12 a pack to make up for the loss of birds they're experiencing? No. If you really peel back the hood and look at how agriculture and mass production is done in the United States, we have more. I mean, the things that would be getting expensive with like tariffs is alcohol and what would you call like a certain class of fruits and vegetables like avocados,
Produce. Yeah,
blueberries, a lot of the berry products we consume, avocados that we have year round even though they're a seasonal
from
fruit.
Mexico. Mhm.
I'm trying to think of what else. Lettuce production, that sort of stuff. Eggs, milk, bread, all these products are made in the United States. That is a byproduct of price gouging.
Yeah. Also, milk, the dairy industry notoriously is kept alive by the US government. It is a failing industry. It doesn't make money. US aid funds
Because
those
black
dairy
people shouldn't
farmers.
be drinking milk anyway. Put on my Hotep cap.
Isn't it three-quarters of us are lactose intolerant? It's like a very high amount.
Yeah, like I tried to give
I
it
was
to my
surprised
kid.
when I
He got
learned the number.
like he
I was
was
like, oh.
immediately like, no.
I was like, not the people of mac and cheese. Most of us is allergic.
I think a lot of our grocery prices are absolutely price gouging on the corporation parts. Um, and I shop at Costco, and so I have been thinking. I'm always thinking, right? But I have been thinking for a while about,
Good.
when I moved from Texas to this area, and you realize how much of our produce is coming from Mexico and Guatemala and like Honduras and stuff. About rethinking about how I consume food and expecting things to always be readily available to me, even though these are seasonal products, and I should get used to like people from Louisiana don't eat crawfish yet year round, but now all of a sudden
No.
we have these seafood boil restaurants where crawfish is available year round, and that is a very much a seasonal product.
And that's why it tastes bad. That's why crawfish in New York
And
tastes
I
bad.
should align my consumption with the natural seasonality of the production of my food rather than expecting things to always. And I also I have a bunch. I have a bunch of seeds I need to sprout and get into growing. I'm gonna grow my own lettuce this year
I love that. I wish I had space.
and kale. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Let's get into the DOG. Did we talk about this already? Kind of. No.
I
I
think
mean, Department of Education.
oh, the
Elizabeth McMahon.
Department of Education, DOE. Yes. I'm like,
Yes.
why is Tina Fey there? This is just running stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
just running shit.
this article, so Linda McMahon tries to
I thought
walk
it was
back, shutting
McMahon.
down
Is it McMahon?
McMahon. Sorry. I was like, how do you pronounce her name again?
I don't
McMahon.
know.
Yes,
That
because
white lady, Linda. This is okay. Yeah.
it's McMahon, and you know why? It's clicking now because she's the former CEO of the WWE.
Yeah.
Again, majority of these people are unqualified. They're moving qualified black people from positions and putting in random blonde women. Interestingly enough, so her task and when she received her mandate as the Secretary of Education, also funny that I knew she was blonde without seeing her picture.
Because they're all blonde.
They're all blonde. They're all bottled blondes. Back
Fried,
to the
dyed, and
theory of
laid to the
blondness
side. Every last one of them. Yes.
every time. Um, Trump tasked her with dismantling the Department of Education. They are now, again, under the guise of, no, this is not a dictatorship. This is not fascism. They are now saying, like, oh, actually, we have to put it to a vote of Congress and we need enough congressional support to dismantle the Department of Education, etc. Their goal, if they are not successful with getting the votes, is they are going to illegally lay off at least half, if not the majority, of the federal workers that work for the Department of Education. So a lot of people online always ask, well, what does the Department of Education federally do anyway? So the Education Department oversees $1.6 trillion in student loan programs. We the debtors. Administers Pell Grants that help low-income pupils and universities. Low-income pupils, attend university. Funds programs to support those with disabilities and living in poverty, and enforces civil rights law that prevents race or sex-based discrimination in federally funded schools, aka public schools. Without the Department of Education, there's no one for you to complain to when you ask, why is my school in insert Black neighborhood so much more underfunded than insert the white school in the zip code next to me? While that's what the Department of Education is supposed to be doing. Also, dismantling the Department of Education does not mean, I see people like incorrectly online. I'm like, where are people getting this from? They're like, oh, there's a Department of Education, I won't have student loans. No, that's not true. You will just get owned by a private corporation, and trust and believe that private corporation will be 10 times worse than
Do they
the
have
public
the
federal
means
program.
to administrate all our loans, though? Hack them hoes. Like, where are the hackers? Where
That's where I'm
hackers?
at. Where are the white hat hackers?
Where are the hackers? Hack when the Department of Education has to transition my student loans. They're already at Nelnet and Mohila. Mohila barely got a customer service line. I know that bitch could be hacked. And I thought they were doing insurance. Like, what are they doing with my student loans? Hack them.
Mohila is also tied to Missouri. The Missouri Department of Education owns a significant part of Mohila. This is why it doesn't run well. It's wild. I'm currently Aidvantage. I had my they were originally under FedLoan, and FedLoan sold me to Aidvantage. And Aidvantage is all right, but they don't even have an app.
I gotta call Mohila and tell them, like, stop taking money out of my bank account. I am in school, you nasty whore.
Well, if your budget can eat it, because
no, it can't. Stop taking the money out. It's not for my graduate. It's not. They're not servicing my graduate loan.
Okay.
This is my undergraduate shit.
Oh, undergrad? No, yeah.
Stop taking the money out. Stop taking the money out of my account. Give me my $700 back. What's wrong with y'all?
Ooh, yeah.
And I want to stop paying taxes.
I see a lot of people conscientiously objecting to paying their taxes.
I want to stop paying all my back taxes.
There's an argument there. Unfortunately, because we live in a penal society that attacks Black people first, I would not in good conscience be like, yes, Negroes, let's all stop. That's the only thing. We will end up like Wesley Snipes, unfortunately.
Can I go to prison like Martha Stewart, though? She looked fine.
She had a great time. Martha was doing all right.
Okay, Bloomberg Law. Look how boring this website is.
Yeah, the editor, hello? Y'all have layoffs? Why is it like this? I don't know.
Trump restricts
a second draft.
Loan forgiveness for nonprofit workers. So he's gotten rid of, he's trying to get rid of PSLF.
PSLF, yeah. And he's starting with again, all of this is illegal because for this to actually take place, you have to go through the rulemaking process. And again, our government is notoriously very slow. He hasn't done anything of that nature. He's skipping steps. And while it is illegal, it all boils down to whether or not the student loan service provider, which is a private company, whether or not they listen to him or they listen to the actual law. And that's what we're about to see. So he is currently trying to attack any nonprofit that has to do with the realm of immigration or nonprofits that protect trans rights. So under PSLF, if you work for a nonprofit or a federal public service, any public service agency, after 10 years, you rightfully get your loans forgiven. And so he's starting with those places. If you work for a nonprofit that happens to fall in those buckets and your service provider tells you you don't get PSLF anymore, I would write them a letter automatically to document that this is illegal. You cannot remove me from PSLF. This is not correct, because it is not correct. And the service provider then is going to have to take the stance of whether or not they want to deal with you. And 9 times out of 10, if you bother them enough, I don't think that they don't want the lawsuit. At least at this time. So I would not accept that laying down for what it's worth.
I don't think you should accept anything Trump and Elon Musk are offering willingly.
Yeah. Exactly. Who's calling me so early in the day? Oh, my dad.
It's almost 11. It's no longer early in the day. Okay. Trump declines to rule out recession as tariffs begin to bite. How are the Negroes doing with no crown royal in America? As soon as I heard about the Canadians being like, we're getting rid of all of our liquor contracts and we're stopping the export of our liquor to the United States, I was like, y'all know Crown Royal is a Canadian whiskey. The bros are having a bad week overall, huh?
That poor
Sorry to
young
you,
man.
Omega Sci-Fi, and you old Negroes in the
Mm.
South.
I did not know Crown Royal was.
Canadian whiskey.
I didn't know that.
It says it on the bag, on the box.
Well, I'm not a brown liquor person, for what it's worth.
Oh,
I don't
girl.
drink
Give me
liquor.
some Crown Royal Peach. We might could do something. When they came up with them flavors, I was like, oh, I see what y'all's talking about. What you drink? Tequila.
Oh
And it's so
no.
interesting that so much of the African diaspora drinks Johnny Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
I've
just
seen
like,
it.
it's so strong.
Yeah, I can't. Like once every couple years I forget and I'm like, maybe my taste buds have matured. I could drink the old man drink. And I'm like, oh nope, can't do it.
Oh, and that's true. Our ginger
Too strong.
ale, Canada Dry. I mean, that's isn't that owned by Frito Lay's now?
I don't know.
Oh, you're not African American. You don't understand the essence of ginger ale. There was a TikTok on my for you
Y'all
page,
do love ginger ale.
on my for you page yesterday, where they were like, I was in a bad mood. Then I remembered I have an ice cold ginger ale in the refrigerator, and I was like, I felt that on a spiritual level. You know what I always have in my house? Do you know what I always have in my house? Ginger ale. I don't drink American soda, so I don't like high fructose corn syrup in my soda.
Mhm.
So I do buy this brand Q sodas. And I
Mm.
literally keep like I
The ginger
literally
ale.
after seeing that TikTok went and put a case of ginger ale in the refrigerator and had me two of them yesterday. Like it's so good.
That was your, oh, I'm back in America, but at least I have ginger ale.
No, that was I'm a nigga and I'm good. You know what I mean? Like that's what that was. Like, yeah. It's so
I'm glad
funny
it
for
gives
to
you
see
comfort.
somebody who does not have the cultural relevancy to.
No, because I'm like, ginger ale?
Yes, it
Fine.
is. And you had to
But
grow
now
up.
that you
It's like
say that,
you grow up in
everybody
a
I
house where
know,
your
I'm like,
stomach
oh, that
hurts,
is
and somebody
why.
be like, "Take a sip of ginger ale."
It's making sense though, because I'm like, oh, all of my closest friends and family, because most of my cousins are half. I'm like, there is always ginger ale in their house. I
Yeah,
just assumed. I was like, okay, they
if
still
you
have
had a
brown sugar.
stomach ache, you was lucky. You would gladly take the ginger ale because like Pepto Bismol is nasty as hell. But my dad was a Pepto
Mm.
Bismol and ginger ale dad. But a fried fish sandwich and a ginger ale. Oh my goodness! Yes, I love a good ginger ale. It's so
Oh.
funny because my grandmother was like a Pepsi person. Like the
Hmm.
older generation is a lot of Pepsi, because Pepsi was the first soda company to put a black person in their advertisement.
Mm.
So the elders, give them a cold Coke, give them a cold Pepsi, but the like boomer and after generations are very much so. My dad, anytime you ask him what he wants to eat, it's either a fried fish sandwich or a sausage sandwich and a ginger ale with some chips.
I love the joy that this is bringing you.
No, like the TikTok. I need to post it to Instagram because it was like, oh my gosh, there's other people in the world that don't understand this context. That like this is not funny to them. That was I in the ginger ale brand that I get. The cans are like 6, 8. They're small. They're mixer cans for alcohol beverages. So
Hmm.
I think they're actually like 7 ounces or something. So I had two. It was
Oh,
very,
funny.
it was very
Now I
satisfying.
have to ask Gabriel if he doesn't buy it because I don't drink soda. No, I feel bad.
Well, get the
Because
Qs. You would
whenever,
drink the Q. That's a company. It's a Brooklyn company.
oh,
They might have sold out by now, but yeah.
hmm.
Do you drink ginger beer?
Yeah, but like I don't drink. So when I was in middle school and I hit puberty, all of the sugar broke my face out so bad. So I just stopped drinking juice and soda.
Mm.
It was just water. So I just usually just drink water. But I do love Sprite. Like if I'm gonna have a soda, I
Sprite
will
is
get me
just
a
weird
Sprite.
to me because why does the McDonald's Sprite taste so different from the Sprite you can
It
get?
does. And I've been boycotting McDonald's. So I'm like, the two things that I
Oh,
do miss from McDonald's back before boycott would be, well, three things: a Sprite, a McFlurry when the machine is working, and a fish fillet.
yeah,
My grandma was very
I
good with
love
fish
a
fillet.
fish fillet. Them
I
fish
love
fillets
a
are
fish
good.
fillet. I
Is it
love
not Lent? I
me
should
too.
go get me a fish fillet from Chick-fil-A because during Lent they serve fish. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna do that today. Go
I
get me
love
a.
that it rhymed.
I'll give me a fish sandwich. People talk about 7 Up and Sprite. In my household, you use that to make cake. We weren't really drinking nobody Sprite or 7 Up.
Oh,
It's too
sure.
sugary. I like a ginger ale. Anyhow, I got a tizzy.
Well,
Somehow it
there's
started
something
with
new today.
started with Canadian
Crown Royal.
whiskey.
It started with Crown Royal.
And
Crown
Layla,
makes me
but
frown. I'm like, no.
I think these tariffs are a bit of political theater, and it will be interesting to see how much he can really stick to it, because I do not think that any of Trump's motivations are from his electorate and how they respond. It is from how the corporations respond, and these
Yeah.
tariffs hurt the business of corporations.
And that's why he keeps flip flopping, because he's rolled them back. Then he said April. Then he said today. And then last week, all he did was go back and forth on what he said, which honestly, his indecisive slash poor decision making slash being extremely bad at his job, it does give me a little hopefulness, because one of my biggest I think fear is the right word. One of my biggest fears with this presidency was, okay, yeah, the first time he was a bumbling clown and a fool, and they did get some things rolled out. But this time I was like, oh no, the Heritage Foundation, as well as his other right wing donors, they have a plan. They know that he's a bumbling puppet and a fool, so they are going to roll their plan out a lot faster. However, he's still himself. So that should give us a little bit hope that as long as there are literally so many of us, as long as we get white people to get upset enough and do something, then we can stand in the second line with an umbrella and push forward with some actual change of policies back to at least what they were, and then progressively better.
Mm.
So I think it's hopeful that he's still a bumbling idiot.
I don't know. This article is saying that the automotive industry stepped to Trump and told him that the tariffs would decimate their business.
And their business is already doing bad.
Is it? I thought the unions were
It is
doing
like,
well.
in terms of like American car manufacturers, I would say their business is not. What's interesting about, I don't drive, I haven't driven in so long. But what I think is interesting whenever I think about like, oh, maybe if I wanted to drive, that ever since the pandemic, a used car price apparently is still one of the highest rates of inflation is used car prices, and that they're still super high.
I bought a brand new car in 2022.
Mm.
2021, maybe 2021. And she's now paid off, and
Oh, look
I
at
want a new.
you.
I know, but I want a new car.
No, it's fine. There's
I want
nothing
a
wrong
bigger
with her.
car. There's nothing, and she's so pretty. My like the other day, I went out to dinner. My friend was like, "Why does your car look so nice?" I'm like, "I got her washed. Does she normally look like that?" Ah, I want a Toyota 4Runner or a
What kind of
Sequoia. No, I
cars?
want a Toyota Sequoia. I want,
Is that like the SUV?
yeah,
Smaller SUV?
hmm
Nice.
yeah. I want a wider car. I don't know, but with the way things are going, I feel like I should just. Do we have
No.
time to jump into Ukraine? Yeah.
Um, we can highlight very quickly. Yes, I'm gonna.
I
Sorry,
mean,
the sound is gonna be bad. I thought I charged the computer,
why don't you
but
keep your computer charged while you're doing your live streams? I don't understand
because
why.
there's only one port, so then this
Then
goes in
you
the
gotta
port.
go buy the ports from Best Buy,
I know.
Stephanie.
I know. You want me to spend money? I know.
It's $15.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it today.
Um, girl, you be trying to get through a 2 hour live without your computer being plugged in?
And she was only halfway charged for what it's worth. It really wasn't her fault this time. I was like, oh yeah, she'll last. And I
No,
looked at
I
the
would
time. I was
never
like,
do
she's like,
that.
girl.
I would never do that. I keep my shit on charge
And
at
that's why
all
you're the resident
times.
black girl in tech in here. See?
Okay, so while I was gone, Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, came to the White House and they had a very bombastic meeting with JD Vance and Trump essentially telling this man that he needed to appreciate what they've done. Like, get it to fuck. They were talking to him like he was a little boy. They was like, the fuck is
Yeah.
wrong with you? How you pull
Not
up here like this?
I never thought I'd see the day that I was defending poor Zelensky. I was like, first of all, not the girls are literally fighting. At one point, Trump basically like kind of grabs his arm and then he raises his hand. I thought that they were going to literally start tussling. A. B. It is absolutely wild to see an imperial power gaslight a smaller country who they have been using to conduct a proxy war by saying, hey, you know, your people are dying. You need to look more grateful. It was objectively very wild to see. I did feel very bad for Zelensky in terms of trying to keep your composure with not just one, but two unhinged people. And then also when they're lying to you, at one point, he asked JD Vance, he was like, when did you go to Ukraine since you're making statements? And JD Vance said, well, when I was close by, I observed. And I was like, they don't have any couth. They have no couth. The three of them, it was fascinating. And it also was interesting to see we've done a complete like 180 with US imperial politics. Because now you have Trump who is BFF Jill with Putin, owned by. We'll
He's
see.
always been with under Russia's wing. But like the Ukraine
Now he's
Russia
making her take to
conflict
see it.
is too white for me to care, unfortunately. I can't learn about what's actually happening because I'm like, oh, it's all white. I got to give my brain space to other things. You know what I mean?
I think it's interesting because I feel like that in general, particularly because there are large racism issues going on in that sector of the
Yeah.
world. I think the interesting part is, unfortunately, when the whites fight, they do drag in everyone else. Like the quiet part that's never said is World War II. A lot of it was fought in Northern Africa
Mm.
because those countries were colonies of France and Britain. Who else is over there now? Germany, Namibia is more south. I think they might have touchdown over there at the time. And the rest of us, because the colonizers want to fight with themselves, do bear the consequences of their silly actions. And so it's been interesting to see the EU and the UK's reaction to all of this, because then after Zelensky left the next day on Saturday, he then went to the UK to meet with the Prime Minister of the UK as well as the other EU leadership, to which they were like, oh, if America is not going to back us up anymore, we now have to arm ourselves, etc. And it was interesting that the EU for all this time has not cared that America's a giant bully to everyone else because they benefited from it. So now they realize, oh, damn, my bully doesn't care about me anymore. Now I'm in a problem. And that has been fascinating to see. And I wonder if them being preoccupied with that will also help the current push forward in Central Africa and West Africa. Everybody except Nigeria's government. Dishonorable mention to the man trying to run that place. Everyone else is pushing their former colonizer out. So I wonder if they will be more successful in pushing France out and pushing the UK out, because now the EU is going to have to focus on like, oh crap, here comes Russia, and America's not going to back them up.
Mm. Mm. Okay, well, I got to move over to the color folk because what can I
Yeah.
say?
Back to things that I care about,
What can I
exactly.
say? You know what I
Because
mean? It's like,
Zelensky,
what can I say?
exactly. Because
thank you
Zelensky
for
is at least
thank you for the
political friends
context.
with Netanyahu, which is trifling. I'm like, sir, I can't defend you.
I can't say
Well,
nothing, right? But this
I
here is
can't.
crazy that Trump has said he was going to go after students who were foreign students that protested Israel's war on campus. And we have our first victim here with Mahmoud Khalil, who was arrested on campus
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night.
And Columbia University, honestly, is all most of the US universities have been extremely unconstitutional, downright fascist in their crackdown of students protesting for Palestine. Columbia University really has taken the cake, though. They have unleashed NYPD on these students. They are now allowing ICE onto the campus to arrest this student. It is it's frightening to see, and it's very sad. And particularly, one of the things that the administration put out is they're going to start combing through social media and see who has posted anything in support of Palestine. And I'm like, so we're in
And they revoke. He has
fascism,
a green card, and they said they're going to revoke his green card.
which is unconstitutional.
This is crazy. And can we expect our courts to like really be a bastion of justice for the people? That's. I mean, we just have to wait. I mean, we kind of have to wait and see.
We're gonna have to wait and see. I think the New York court system, based on that New York is supposed to be what is the term, a sanctuary city, and that New York courts, depending which court system, does at least try to model itself after international law. I think they will push back against this. However, if these are federal charges, the problem is in the appeal.
I mean, but the thing is, as this article says, an immigration court can revoke a green card, but government departments do not have that power.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What are we doing here? And so I think some of this is also political theater, but it will take 2-3 years to wind its way through the courts. So it's political theater that does have direct impact on people's livelihoods and
Yeah.
putting people in deeply uncomfortable positions.
Mhm. And also, like, what's gonna happen to, his education while he is, like, hopefully, I'm assuming that they will start a legal fund for him, so all of the Luigi supporters supporting Luigi can also give this young man money to fight now and defend, so that way he can
Where
keep
would
his
they
grade up.
deport him to?
So, I'm glad you
As a
asked that.
Palestinian, where they're like their
They are
land is being
to
co-opted
Panama. They
to
are now,
Panama.
unfortunately. Yes, so I should have pulled that article. I should have pulled that, for this one. There are over 200, um immigrants that were in the process of seeking asylum in the United States from various countries. From, I believe, over 20 countries are represented, and the United States deported them all to Panama. They are now currently being held in a hotel in Panama. And the Trump administration has inked a deal with the Panamanian government because they are trying to strong arm the Panamanian government into getting control of Panama Canal. And so, in an effort to keep their own sovereignty, the Panamanian government has agreed to that, under coercion, in my opinion. So, they are now deporting people who are not from Panama, to Panama, which is objectively wild.
Mm. Craziness, insanity. Um, like
But again, none of this stuff is legal, so it only stands if we do nothing. So, doing nothing is literally the worst thing we could do right now.
well, we are doing something. We're bringing the news to the people. We're raising awareness.
And we're gonna figure out how to rile up, the whites. I think it will give me so much joy to be like, "Hello, have you done something
Yeah,
today?"
and here's what I'm gonna create a template for them.
Yes,
I'm
like
gonna
you
I'm
got
gonna
to use
I'm
your
gonna
language.
create a Patreon exclusive for white women that says learn how to be an activist that does something.
You know what? I don't know if you want them all on your Patreon, but they need something. They need a 1, 2, 3 step. Because y'all donating to Luigi, wonderful. I see you have money and you have time. Y'all need to start, you know, moving to the front line.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting, and not to harp on it, but I have been watching the growing amount of Black women that identify as 92%, as in the 92% of Black women that voted for Kamala Harris, and rightfully saying, like, I'm tired. I am focusing on my community, and that's it. And I'm not looking at anything else going on, and I'm not helping with anything. And I definitely understand that. And I also want us all to implore and to know the facts of, we face the brunt of the issue and the problem first. So we can't necessarily ignore the problem.
Mm.
Like, focusing on your community means you'd have to actually look at the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I
There's
agree. I agree.
there's
Well, we're gonna get to the rest of our Monday. Monday's always a busy day. We'll see you
no,
on. Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday. Last comment. Haitian Hero said, okay, Julesy in her MLM era. We should design it as an MLM and then the white woman will come.
I'm just trying to. There was a black woman who would during Black Lives Matter said, "Let me teach you how. Let me the Unracist Academy," and got her Patreon to 100K. I be telling you about this girl every time we talk about Patreon money. She was making over $100,000 a month on Patreon,
It would have to
directing
be
her.
separate. I don't want that level of commotion and consternation to invade the safe spaces we create.
Nah. Let me start. Like if I could get 100K a month out of some white women, let me grift.
Are they gonna do their work? They like to pay money, but I need them to do their work.
I like them to pay money. Period. We'll get to the work part later. Like, because then I could go do the work with the real ones. All right. You see what I'm
Okay,
saying? You see what I'm saying? All right. All right. Thank y'all for joining. We're gonna see y'all on Thursday.
yes, we will.
Have a
Happy
good
you're back.
rest of your week. Thank you for supporting us. Tell your friend, tell a friend to come watch us. And we are also,
Yes.
if you, again, I mean, I should do this at the beginning. We put these up on Spotify. So if
Yes.
you want to hear it as just a podcast, you can listen on Spotify. Thank y'all. Deuces.
Bye.